Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Happy Monday, January 20th. And welcome to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez, who is in New Orleans right now having the best muffaletta she could get her hands on. I hope.
Jealous.
Right?
So jealous.
My name is Ken Mejia-Beal, and I'm your host this evening, afternoon, nighttime, whatever time of day it is. Treasurer for Youth Outlook, and I have my friend Elliott here.
It's me, yeah. No, I mean, people, well, we've met before. We've been on the show together before.
Yes.
So for folks who may not have heard me before, I'm Elliott Serrano, Patti's chief geek officer, and a frequent sidecar co-host and fill-in host from time to time when Patti's out having fun in warm climes,
yes, in
warm temperatures.
Climate.
Oh, jeez.
I know we have a lot to talk about today. We have some wonderful guests. I'm super excited about our guests. We have Shakina Perry, who is a policy whiz. We have Lynn Casey Maher, who's the vice chair of the Progressives of DuPage. She's also a township chair. She does a lot. And we also have Chiquita Hall-Jackson, who's an author, lawyer, and I've known her since I was 13 years old, so it's going to be a fun day.
So you've known her all of 5 years?
God bless you, Elliott. God bless you. It's 7 years.
You're so young.
7 years.
I
just turned 22 last week.
This dude is like so freaking young next to me. You give off this young man energy that makes me feel old.
You know, I tell my partner this all the time. I eat soup every day. Uh-huh. I take a nap every day from 1 o'clock to 1:45. Uh-huh. And I smoke pot. So I'm very relaxed.
Okay, so you had the makings of either a radio show or a website, just in soup and a nap.
Soup.
I don't know how to get that third part in there that works with soup and a nap and a hit. Soup and a nap.
Well, not all at once.
No.
The pot comes later at night.
Obviously,
9 p.m.
That would help me. That would help me nap. But.
No, that comes around 9 p.m. But today is a very big day, and we're going to talk about all of the comings and goings of today with you and our guests. But number one, right out the gate, I do want to talk a little bit about MLK Day, because that is what the actual day that we have off is today, is Dr. King Day, which is a day of service, and we were talking about that a little bit before we started.
Yes. I mean, I like that that is what the day is intended for. I would often, though, I will make this joke. Mm-hmm. That there was a time there. Remember when there was this whole argument over whether it should be an actual national holiday or federal holiday or not? And then you had people going, well, I don't see why it should be a national holiday. And Arizona didn't recognize it. Because if you make it a federal holiday, then like federal offices and county offices, they're all closed and stuff. So people had a hard time reconciling that.
That was in the 80s,
yes,
correct? Okay,
correct.
Got it.
But now it's like we pretty much accept it. But I'm of the opinion, and I could be in the minority here, for all the debate that I remember happening over it, and again, this is my old man, since you're a young man, you weren't there for all this.
I did see what you're talking about in movies.
In movies, yes. Yeah. I think there was a Gilmore Girls about that, too. But I'm like, wait a minute. Now everyone's like, oh, I should have MLK Day off, because that's what they're still talking about. But they're going, really? And I hate to say who it is, and I'm trying to call out here on this. But, I mean, it's like to a point where almost to me it's like the folks who are saying I should have MLK Day off are kind of would be like the folks who said, oh, you know what? I should get Hanukkah off. They're not Jewish, is what I'm saying.
Okay, understood.
Get what I'm saying? Okay, say it. A light just went on just now. You went,
I just got it. Because when we were talking earlier, that part never clicked.
No, I don't.
It's like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And, I will say this, and I make jokes about it all the time, but I want to give a special warm hug to every African American in America who has sat through their bigoted, hypocritical friends that have somehow managed to put an MLK post on their social media, and you withheld trashing them publicly. You have made it. Congratulations. I went through a few, and it's like, oh my, you? Okay. But then I moved on. But today is a day of service. What I like to do every year, if I can, is the day before I get together with a group of young men and women on the west side of Chicago. We do kind of a workshop on Constitution and how to do a resume and how to apply for colleges. And that's kind of the way I like to do MLK Day, and that's my little way of volunteering in a way to help the future.
That's good. No, I like that too. I mean, I don't know if you. That really is, as if we've learned anything from this last few months. The youth really are going to need a lot of attention here.
They do.
I mean, if we're going to talk about having a democracy and having a participatory democracy, and we're going to be encouraging the vote, then we also need to make sure that people realize how powerful that vote is, and that their vote can have particular consequences.
Yes. And sorry, go.
No, I was just saying.
Oh no, and you're right. And I think what I love about the generation coming up, and what they have a fire and a passion, and they don't just get along to get along. They want results, and they want results yesterday. And I think it is a beautiful thing. I just think I was in high school during Columbine, for example, and it happened, and we didn't do anything because we didn't think we could. And then you look at the generation that came after us, and that happened so often, and they said, no, we're not doing this. We're walking out. We're going to – I think the next generation is a generation of action. And that is where, as a party, as a liberal party, and I'm a very proud liberal, we are going to have to meet these young folks with action. They've heard it all. They've seen it all. They want to see us put action into what we're pushing before they go to the polls.
And add to that, I was listening to the Joan Esposito show before we came on, and there is the quote unquote working man kind of feels a little bit unignored or unheard, so to speak.
Yes.
And but we can get into it a little bit deeper in a bit because to me it's always been about marketing. The political process has turned more and more into a whole marketing campaign, and if anything, this last campaign emphasized it even more, that it wasn't even so much about the substance, it was about the expression.
Yes.
And I know we got all these folks like holding on the line right now.
Yeah, we're going to get to you.
We're going to get to you, folks. Jim and Mike, we're going to be coming up on a break real quick, so please hold on. We'll get you right when we come back. And yes, here's a thing just so you know.
Yes.
I'm going to admit to you something that I've also admitted to Patti.
Oh, I can't wait.
And she knows, and she always gets a laugh out of this. I know I am very well aware of the breaks on the show, like, at the quarter hour, the top and the bottom. When I'm hosting by myself, I am very let's just say very hyper aware of them. So there'll be a time where you're going to see me looking at the clock. And you already said, Elliott, you said to Lady B, if we're talking too much,
please,
just tell us.
Because I won't stop. I can't be stopped. I'm still like 1 foot in, 1 foot out as a politician. I cannot be stopped.
I gotcha. I got it. So what I want to do is I do want to hit this break.
Let's do it.
Hit this break on the quarter hour. I know we have a couple of seconds here, but before we go, understand that Ken and I are we're sitting in here for the first time together, and this is going to be a lot of fun. And they gave me also other copy to read too. So before we go to the break, tomorrow on Chew's Views, Richard Chew will be talking to Michael Hoffman, the teenage author of Be a Scribe, Working for a Better Life in Ancient Egypt, and immigration attorney Kate Lincoln Goldfinch will talk about immigration and border policy in the new Trump administration. Chew's Views, weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. Central on WCPT 820. And that's not to mention that all the guests that we've got lined up here today. And I'm telling you,
The guest, and before we also just want to thank our sponsors, Minocqua Brewing and Kids Above All.
Kids Above All. I'm telling you, Minocqua Brewing, which they've got some stuff coming out. I don't know if I can talk about it yet.
Well, I can tell you what I can talk about.
Yeah.
I just made fish and chips last night with the Magateers.
Oh, that's a good
amazing.
One. That's a good one. I still have a can of Dark Brandon sitting in my fridge. I'm going to save that. So that's the other reason. Whenever I come here, I get my refill of Minocqua Brew.
Boom.
Lady B, is there any in the fridge?
Yeah.
All right. Woo-hoo!
All right.
All right. Hey, let's hit the break and get us some Minocqua Brew.
Absolutely. See you soon.
Out Chicago.
The media has been manipulated with propaganda and fear, and this is what has brought us where we are today. More than ever, people are looking at just one news source, and that's it.
What they're doing, they're looking at their
phones.
phone.
Well, that's their source.
They are looking
that's their
at
source.
Yeah, I know. They're looking at their phone. They're hearing opinion. They're hearing misinformation. They're not looking at sources.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820. Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez
In your communities, in Chicago.
on WCPT 820.
Welcome back. It is Ken Mejia-Beal and my buddy Elliott. Elliott, pronounce the last name again.
Serrano.
I will keep wanting to say Siriano, and that is not right.
And even Serrano's not right. You're supposed to roll the R's, but I know people can't do that, so I never go Serrano. So people can't do that.
I'll do that after the break. I'll do that after.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Well, ... I will try to do that. I will try to do that after the break. And we have some callers that have been on hold. If you want to join the conversation, call now at 773-763-WCPT. That is 773-763-9278. Our first caller, we have Jim in Chicago. Jim, how's it going? You're on.
Hi. What's peculiar to this dictator is his hair. He spent more time in his hair than any monarch or dictator that I've ever read. He spends a couple hours in the morning on his hair. Even Louis XVI, with his mirrors in the Palace of Versailles, didn't take that much time to the vanity of this gentleman. And the other thing that's strange about him is he's the hungriest billionaire I've ever heard in my life. He's willing to sell anything in the room for any amount of money as quickly as possible. I've never seen a billionaire, who's absolutely insatiable for money. I don't know what drives him. I mean, now we're on crypto. He sells $2 bills. He sells Bibles. He sells his underwear. Sells his perfume. His wife's got $40 million from Pecos to do a movie. I mean, these are the hungriest people I've seen. People in famines.
Well, Jim, I mean,
that are lining up for bread. They're lining up for bread, and they're not that hungry.
Well,
they're not that hungry.
He's a narcissist and a snake oil salesman, but I also don't believe he has as much money as he likes us to believe he does.
Well, he will when he leaves office.
Well, probably.
There's no question about it.
Absolutely.
His son-in-law got $2 billion from the Saudis. Did everybody ever explain that? And that's just a drop in the bucket. I mean, that's just a drop in the bucket. But no, when he leaves office, he'll break all speed and land records. You can bet your life on that. But the Supreme Court also padded his seat, and that's really amazing. To enhance a lunatic's power in this time in history, that he can absolutely do anything. The other thing is how he escaped the law. I mean, there's two things. Is there law and government, or are they both the same, or is one separate from the other? Because it doesn't seem that way anymore. Now it seems like the government is dictating the law. Yeah. And it's, I don't know how long we can go on like this. But anyway, you guys have a great show, and thank you.
You too, Jim, and thank you. Great commentary.
I mean, that Trump coin went big and
huge, and
it's my understanding that about 70% of the money that's in there is in one wallet right now.
Yeah, I read that on the way here in an Uber, but I did read that on the way over.
For those who don't understand, if you get crypto, you're basically trusting the system to keep the value and such. But I mean, crypto is let's be honest, crypto's a scam.
It's a huge scam.
It's a scam that people, but the problem is that you still have people in the finance world who talk about crypto, who pump it up, who talk, who legitimize it.
They make it real.
And then people just keep going for it.
It's not cool. Mike from Chicago. Hello, Mike. You're on with Ken and Elliott. How's it going?
Hello, Mike. I think we've lost Mike.
No, we have Mike. How's it going, Mike?
I just had to call because I hear a lot of people complaining about Donald Trump. I just want to know what are we going to do, because what I'm hearing is we ain't going nowhere. Everybody just keep repeating the same thing over and over again.
Well,
that's the most important thing.
Go on.
Yeah.
Trump is.
Mike, you're dropping on us. Are you there? I think we lost. I think we lost Mike.
I do want to say this, Mike, because I actually made a post on my social media a couple of days ago, and my point is I hear you, and I do understand that it is becoming incredibly frustrating that the conversation is Trump versus what we are going to do, what we are doing well, what we are exceeding at. And I think for me, my personal decision has been not to make the next 4 years about Donald Trump, is to make the next 4 years about liberalism, is to make the next 4 years about what we're doing well, what products, what advancements the Democratic Party, the Liberal Party, the Progressive Movement are making.
Oh, you're such a better person than I'm telling you. Can I tell you something? Here's the thing. I know there are a lot of folks who are getting this. This is the thing that drives me nuts.
Yes.
Okay. It's like, well, Trump's in office now. So, we all got to get together and we've got to work together and support the president. That's how I kept hearing what I kept hearing as things were coming up.
Yeah.
And I heard that the last time he was in office. And yet, throughout the Obama presidency, the first thing I heard was Mitch McConnell saying our objective is to make sure that Obama's a one-term president.
Yep.
And then after that, all that we hear during the Biden presidency, let's go, Brandon, and all this opposition, constantly dragging down anything that the Democratic Party wanted to do.
Fair.
And again, it was to me, this was a messaging issue, and it's always been a messaging issue between both parties.
Yes.
The Republican Party is really good at messaging.
And I was just going to say, because I do have friends that are Republicans that are having the best day ever. And what I noticed is through the election cycle, I was always posting Kamala policy advancement. And I had so many of my Democratic friends posting Trump. But my Republican friends were posting Trump. So what I mean is the average person, I'm not talking pundits, we have to learn to talk about our wins. We have to learn to focus on – the best way to put it is if you make me not like the other guy, cool, I won't vote for the other guy. But it doesn't mean I'm voting for you. I need to get off of my couch. I was proud to get off my couch for Vice President Harris because I had a reason to. I wasn't voting against someone. I was voting for someone. And I think that's...
I get that. But mind you, that was something that the Republicans were really good when Hillary was running for president. Oh, well, you're not really voting for Hillary Clinton. You're voting against Trump. It didn't matter what was going on. And then when Trump was running for re-election, they said the same thing again. But they weren't saying, why should we be voting for your guy? So anyway, I see Mike is back.
Oh, Mike is back. Hello, Mike.
So I'm back, guys. How you doing?
Good.
I'm back. You hear me now?
Yes.
I want to piggyback on what you just said. We keep on. Most of these guys having a good day right now because of Trump, and our message is so bad. It was just I kept on hearing everybody saying a policy we got right, and then I heard the Trump saying I'm sending them all back. I'm sending them back, right? Mm-hmm. So most people I know was complaining about getting the illegal free housing and everything, and then here go Trump say we send them back. And then we hear Cameron Harris say, oh, I'm working on the bill they didn't want to pass it. The average person don't know what bill. And then Biden them say, oh, yeah, we cut insulin costs, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big thing, and we need it, right? But the only person who's really going to care about that is the person who got insulin. So we have to talk about a variety, a bigger picture versus a small, narrow picture, you know. And most people I know, they didn't want to support Trump, but they were so tired of Democrats giving them the same story. You know what? I just sit this out, you know. Y'all figure it out. I sit this out. Let Trump deport them back. I sit this back. He'll mess up some stuff again, we know. But next time you'll understand, you need to offer us something that we understand. No one understand our policy because the average person not looking at a policy. They're looking at something that's going to affect their everyday lives. And they think a lot of stuff put in front of them that they never seen before. And most people I know say, you know what? I think I just better stay home, let Trump do his thing. I may not get what I want. Yeah, he's going to throw egg on my face. I just sit it back. So what we do now to get a better message to make people more invested going out there to vote versus telling them how bad Trump going to be, because the average person already know he's going to do what he's going to do anyway. So we want to know who going to energize someone to go out to the next election and make a difference.
Thank you so much for that commentary, Mike. I do agree so much with many things that you just said. I did a tour throughout the country. I got to talk to a lot of marginalized voters, Black and Latino voters, and I think I even told Patty back in August, I was like, I don't think this is going to happen for us because so many people are saying, I'm just going to stay home. And I did not stay home, and I know lots of people didn't, but I think the conversation should be, what are we not doing to get those folks off of the couch or the bed or wherever the hell they are? I don't know where they are, but why are they not, where are they?
It's a marketing issue. Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah, it is a marketing issue.
Here's the thing, and this is, some people are going to find this a bit insulting.
Say it.
If anything, this is what the election has shown.
Yes.
Again, if anything, it had nothing to do with policy, because if it was down to policy, it would have been obvious when Trump ran the first time. He's not qualified to do the job. Mm-hmm. After what happened at the end of his first term, I do not understand how they kept saying, and this is back to the marketing and messaging, how you kept hearing, even as Trump was running for president the second time, the public trusts the Republicans more with the economy than Democrats.
Even though we are better at the economy.
Even though Democrats historically are better with the economy.
Absolutely.
And the last time, every time the Republicans have control of the House, Senate, and they tank the freaking economy. So again, that's a messaging thing. And folks, this is where we're at. I gotta get this in because we have a hard break at the bottom of the hour. This is, to me, the proof that we are in what's called the post-reality era.
Oh, okay.
Where reality doesn't matter. It's what I tell you.
Yes.
And this started way back when. I mean, I said this really started during the George W. Bush. Mm-hmm. Remember when it was the whole, Stephen Colbert created truthiness?
Yes.
I think it's what you think is true. It's not facts. It's what you feel.
It's what you feel.
And that's what Trump played to. It was a WWE script.
Yep.
The guy, it was, as you said, it was a carnival act. It was P.T. Barnum. It was playing to the emotions of people. Playing to the emotions. So then you have a guy like Mike go, hey, you know what? He's going to do what he's going to do. Let him be in the office. When we forget that when he does what he does, that's not going to be great. But on the other hand, I mean, the last time around, he got stopped from a lot of things he wanted to do. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Well, I don't know. I don't have more to rant, but I know you've got a guest coming up at the end of the hour. So let's hit this break.
Yeah, let's hit the break, Elliott. Write down what you're thinking. We're going to go on break and come back with we're going to talk some policy So
with who?
With Shekinah Perry. She's amazing.
All right, I'm looking forward to this. Thank you, folks. This is Driving It Home with Ken Mejia-Beal and Elliott Serrano on WCPT 820 AM.
The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays at 1 p.m.
I'm thankful, really, that anyone could feel they could call into this show and share their real despair and anger. I am. I can only hope that we can get past the disappointment and the anger with each other. To once again focus on these longer-term and very large fights.
The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays at 1 p.m.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Welcome back. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez. Patti is in New Orleans, having the time of her life right now. It's Ken and Elliott. We go for it, Elliott.
We should call ourselves like the K&E show? Ken and Elliott?
I like that. K&E.
K&E.
Can we announce the K&E show will be back tomorrow?
We'll be back. We will be back tomorrow. I guess we're jumping the gun here. Here's the thing you need to learn about radio, my friend.
Oh boy,
you need to learn how to tease things.
Yeah, you
have to learn to tease things out. That was like a second hour tease. That you just blew it like in the first, not even the first half hour.
You sound exactly like my ex-husband.
Wow.
And hence I'm divorced now, so thank you for bringing up those memories.
Sorry. Man, I triggered that. Anyway, yeah.
My bad.
All right. But Ken, I know.
That surprised me. Go for it.
Really? Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for letting me be your co-host today. I'm actually in the I call it the Riker chair. I'm your number one. You're Jean-Luc Picard. You're the captain.
Okay.
And then I'm your number one. I'm the guy to your right. I'm literally to your right.
Yeah.
And then you're driving this ship, and I'm just here to kick in wherever you need me, and just send me away on those away missions.
Nope.
Again, these are Star Trek references for folks who are wondering where I'm coming from.
I got it right away. I'm very proud of myself.
All right.
I'm very proud. And also, speaking of proud, we have a policy advocate that you might have heard of if you are following anything political in the great state of Illinois, Shekinah Perry. Hello, Shekinah. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about you?
I am doing well. How's your day been? I know you are busy every day, but I'm sure today you were crazy busy.
You know what? I wanted to be supportive of different just community orgs that were doing great things for MLK Day. So I popped into a few events, but overall I took it easy this year, which is good.
I'm jealous. Well, I do want to thank you for taking time to talk to Elliott and I today. And our listeners, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to policy. A lot of people have questions. A lot of people are afraid. They want to know stuff. And when I was thinking, I said, you know who knows stuff? Madam Perry knows stuff. So we're going to have her on. So
no pressure.
All the pressure, all the worries, all the pressure. Number one, when we talk about policy, because I've seen a few Facebook posts about this, what is the difference between an actual policy and an executive order?
For sure. So I believe so are we just referring to some of the chaos that's been taking place today?
Absolutely, yes.
For sure. So I think from a policy standpoint, so from an executive order, it's written by the president to the executive branch. And so it's more of he can say a lot of things about what we're going to do. A policy itself has like an actual set of goals, and it actually has different action steps that have to take place in order for a policy to get implemented. Mm-hmm. And so the executive order is just, it could be forceful, but policy is the way in which it's actually implemented, if that makes sense. I hope that's not too convoluted.
No. I follow that.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about executive orders, other than the chaos that it creates. I mean, because it is similar to how I look at budgets, right? Budgets are a reflection of our morals. Executive orders, I look at it in the same way as like what are you putting out to the world? What type of message are you sending? What type of message are you sending to the world? But the implementation process is what I'm concerned about. If we actually have our lawmakers actually take those executive orders and try to implement them, that's what I'm concerned about. Got it.
So walk me through, because you've been in these rooms. Good policy. What does that? How is that built? What does that stand on? What is the foundation of a good policy?
Yes, I think good policy for me just starts at the community level, right? And so really speaking to everyday people who are impacted by whatever you're trying to change. And so I always say I never propose a policy until I've spoken to the people on the ground, whether that's community organizations, whether those are, who are the people who will be impacted directly by whatever I'm trying to push, and just making sure that you're having community conversation after community conversation, because it starts with them, and they are supposed to help shape what the policy will look like moving forward. In addition to that, just thinking about policy is, how hard will it be to implement? Are there any funding mechanisms that need to be attached to it? What are the unintended consequences of the policy that you're putting forward? So there are quite a few different iterations of what makes good policy, but policy that doesn't have community input is always a bad idea.
So right now, at a national level, we are probably going to go into the next 4 years of having policy written in a way that no one from the impacted communities, especially marginalized communities, will be consulted and won't be in the room for the most part. If part two is like part one, if this were a movie, I'm expecting part two to be kind of like part one, only worse, because that's how that works. What can we on the ground level do as these policies are coming up? How can we advocate for ourselves?
Absolutely. I believe that, I think really getting back to the grassroots level of, having those community conversations at a grassroots level to really help, because as you know, Ken, there's a distrust in government. There's a lot of information being thrown at us at one time, and even folks like me who are in the policy space, it's hard to keep up with so many different moving pieces. And so one, as just regular folks, is like figuring out what organizations are doing good work in your community. Get plugged in with those advocacy orgs, because they have they're following those moving pieces. They understand what the impact is going to be on community if that policy is implemented or if it fails. And just really plugging into those communities and being able to ask those questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question for me. So if you don't understand anything, raise your hand and ask it. Being able to plug into so now that you go to this community meeting or plug in with this advocacy org, how do you remain connected to them, whether it's subscribing to a newsletter, whether it's following their social media channels, whether it's attending town halls. I think we just have to really get back to the grassroots level of these things and really make these things as accessible as possible, because some policies as written, they're written in a way to confuse people. They're not accessible to everyday folks. So that the more that you can connect with individuals and orgs that can really connect this to your everyday life and let you know what the impact is going to be, I think the better we're going to be. So there's dozens of orgs. Like, we can run off a list of them, right? But if you can connect to one that's in your local community or that's in alignment with what you believe in, then I think that's the best first step.
That was a lot of really good information. Thank you. That was a lot. I know people are Googling orgs in their area right now, like, where can I fit in? But on a personal note, can you tell me about a policy that you were a part of that, because and I mean this with the utmost respect. I'm smiling right now. Our cameras are broken. But a lot of people hear policy and they just tune out. Like they are making a grocery list, and they shouldn't. Can you tell me about a policy that you've been a part of that changed the way you look at policy, that changed your approach, that was so kind of life-changing for you in a way?
For sure. I mean, I can name one that is very recent.
Yeah.
So for folks that don't know on the call, I'm a water policy person. I like to call myself the water queen, so I love all things water infrastructure. So, it's like my corny way of like making this way more accessible to folks.
Yeah.
But I've just done like drinking water, wastewater, storm water. So I just really enjoy this work. And I know inherently that water is a basic human right that everyone doesn't have access to. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of rights that need to be wrong. I mean, a lot of wrongs that need to be right in terms of the environmental injustices that communities of color and poor people have continued to shoulder in this country year after year after year. And so one policy that a lot of people don't know that's actually underway is back in October of 2024, the Environmental Protection Agency, which oversees all things environment within the United States, finalized what they call the lead and copper rules improvements. And it just really put the country on a updated drinking water standard on the ways that we regulate drinking water, and we can go down the rabbit hole, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But the main takeaway from the LCRI, which I'm going to call it for short, is mandating that each city and state in the United States has to replace their lead pipes within 10 years. In Chicago gets an exception because we're on a 20-year timeline because we have more lead pipes than any other U.S. city. And Illinois has more lead pipes than any other U.S. state. And so this policy is important to know because there's no safe level of lead exposure. And when people are drinking lead that's coming out of the tap, so whether they're drinking it for, everyday hydration, whether they're cooking, cleaning with it, even the smallest amount of exposure can be really detrimental to your health, especially for kids. So it can be behavioral issues, developmental disabilities, emotional disabilities. Even for adults, even the lowest level of lead exposure can lead to just reproductive health issues, as well as, stroke, heart attacks, different levels of heart disease. And so this policy is just something that's important because we've had lead pipes in the ground delivering contaminated water to our communities for decades now. And this policy is a way to right a wrong and to really invest infrastructure money and capital to get these lead pipes out to protect our communities moving forward. And so that's a really big policy that myself I was involved with, as well as other water advocates across the country that I just want more people to know about because it's underway. So you're going to see a bunch of construction taking place, a lot of folks getting the lead pipes out. You're going to see a lot of contractors around. So it's just something to know that it's happening. But this incoming administration, they're trying to overturn it. And so this is another idea of like good policy now being challenged from folks who disagree. So.
Well, I know we have to let you go because we have a break coming up, but I want to thank you for joining our show, and I also want to heartfelt thank you for all the work that you've been doing through the years. You're a superhero, and I will call you the Water Queen. You are the Water Queen. And I don't know if a lot of people, I think everyone in the world should meet you because you are so extraordinary. Your smile lights up a room, and then you tell us all this stuff that makes us navigate this world that's a little bit darker, a little bit better. So thank you so much, Shekinah, and please keep doing everything that you are doing.
No, and thank you for having me, Ken. And, just my last thing I'm going to say, I know you're all going to break, is just whoever's listening, just stay hopeful. We need each other more than anything right now. And so whether it's the policy conversations or the grassroots organizing, we need everyone at the table. So just stay hopeful, stay committed, and just know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you, and choo-choo.
Shakina, thank you so much, Ken, for letting me get a word in here. But, Shakina, before you go, you have any websites or socials you want to plug?
For sure. I mean, I'm always, I'll have to spell my name for everyone. But if you look up where I work, it's called the Natural Resources Defense Council. So if you look up NRDC, there's a wealth of knowledge about environmental everything. So anything that you can think of from an advocacy standpoint, where to go to get plugged in. So feel free to go to nrdc.org, check out what my colleagues are doing, myself. You will see my own blog page there where I'm writing a lot of blogs about water infrastructure policy and the things that we need to do. So that's very important to me. And of course, if you have a lead pipe, there are a lot of city programs in the city of Chicago. So if you look up City of Chicago lead service line replacement, you'll have all the options at your disposal, and you move on from there.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Okay, and
no problem at all.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. And listeners, we will be back shortly right after this break.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Hello. This is Ken and Elliott. We're dropping our last names. We're like Bono and Sting at this point.
Bono.
Wait, who's Bono and who's Sting?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. This is going to get me off on another tangent.
Go for it.
Especially when we were talking about pro wrestling during the breaks.
Okay.
Because there is a Sting the wrestler as well as a Sting the singer, and apparently Sting the singer has to pay Sting the wrestler for using the name.
Really?
Which blows me away. They're going, really? Is that? I didn't realize the case. And then, of course, there's also Edge from U2.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's also an Edge wrestler, although he doesn't call himself Edge anymore because he's no longer in WWE.
Okay.
And again, it's just ridiculous stuff that my head is full of that people go, just imagine me just meeting new folks. And then they're like, wow, that guy has got a lot of useless information in his head. So,
well, I do trivia for fun, so there you have it.
There you go. Well, but not so trivial is let's get through some of these libraries, because tomorrow on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be talking to Dr. Allison Dagnes, I hope I'm saying that correctly, professor of political science at Shippensburg University, Catherine Ross, professor of law at George Washington University, and Heartland Signals Rich Eberwein with 3 stories you might have missed from our digital newsroom. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m. Central on WCPT 820. Hey, did you know?
Go for it.
That you could also listen to Driving It Home as a podcast? Why, yes. This is a reminder that Driving It Home has 2 new podcasts. First is Driving It Home full episodes. Later on, when this is all over, Lady B is going to upload this baby to the interwebs.
The interwebs.
Yeah, and then I'll be sharing this on my LinkedIn. I'll be sharing this on all my socials.
Same.
You can do the same to put out there, that we were hosting the show. So you can either get the full episodes as well as Driving It Home featured interviews. You can subscribe to one or both. The podcasts are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Amazon. Just search for Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez, or get the links on the Driving It Home page by visiting heartlandsignal.com and clicking on Patti's picture. She's got a great photo.
She does. She's so photogenic.
I'm telling you, it's just the woman is incredibly everything. She touches all bases. You know, she's smart, she's funny, you know, she's a mom, she's gorgeous, all those things.
All of it.
Yeah. And then, of course, listen live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m. at 8:20 a.m. on TuneIn from heartlandsignal.com, or tell Alexa to play WCPT from TuneIn. That's what I do. I tell them, Alexa, play WCPT, and whatever's on at that time comes on. And it's really...
Thanks, Alexa.
Fun. It's fun. And if you haven't already, you can follow Heartland Signal on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at Heartland Signal, one word. And be sure to check heartlandsignal.com for daily updates.
Boom. That was everything.
Yeah, there was a bit here. And it's like, again... I'm conditioned to this as a radio dude.
You are perfect.
I mean...
I would pay you to make my commercials.
Well, okay, let's talk.
I don't have commercials, though. It would just be a commercial selling myself.
Well, okay. Do you have money? That's my first question. If you're going to pay me, do you have money? If you have money, we'll talk about the commercials.
No. Yeah, do I have? I almost choked to death. Do I have money? Absolutely
really?
Not.
You know, and again, I want to go back to what Mike, the caller, was talking about earlier about the the messaging that was going on between the Democrats and the Republicans. And again, with Miss Perry, okay, so when you were having that discussion with her about policy, and she was going through really meticulously about different issues, why policy is important, as you asked, what were policies that how policies affect people, the difference between policy and executive orders, and so on. See, that was like, how do I say this? That was like so illuminating.
Same.
But, and not that it's a problem, but here was the problem. Is that it was like eating your vegetables. You know how it's like they're good for you. Yeah. And you should know this. Yeah. But it's like when someone. But
everybody wants nachos.
Everyone, exactly.
Nobody wants Brussels sprouts.
No.
But
actually, Brussels sprouts I've gotten into. You got to put them in olive oil.
I'm a vegetable eater.
Put them in olive oil. Slice them in half. Yeah. Sprinkle some salt, some pepper, some minced garlic. Throw those babies in the air fryer.
Shallots.
Oh yeah, you're there. But anyway, see, that's what I think as Democrats. We kind of need to learn to do that. We have to so when it comes to issues like water, that is incredibly important. Yes. When you have the guy from freaking Nestle contesting whether water is a human right or not.
And it is.
They're like,
just water.
But they're able to essentially get you hooked on bottled water. Mm-hmm. And then everyone's arguing over why does the city of Chicago have to spend all that money to redo all the piping because people are getting lead poisoning from the established pipes? Because that's important. That's a policy that's important that affects lives.
And a bigger problem is that when we hear about policy, and I'm going to put myself in this and put everyone in this, folks tend to center themselves. And by that I mean, if you can afford bottled water and you are looking at the cost of overhauling lead pipes, you think this is unimportant. Instead of not centering yourself and saying, maybe everyone can't do that. There was a policy, it's called the Crown Act, that was passed in Congress. It prohibits folks from discriminating against black hair or ethnic hair. And I remember going to a township meeting in the burbs, and this guy was going on and on and on about we elect these Congress people and they're wasting all of our time and money on hair. And I had to stop him and say, okay, this doesn't impact you, but it impacts a lot of people. And how it does impact you is if folks can't get jobs being their authentic selves, you're going to end up paying for them somewhere or another down the line. But I think with policy, yes, it's not sexy. And no, it doesn't always center around you. But you are not the center of the universe, and you too are not always sexy. So there you go.
Wow. I knew I wasn't sexy.
No,
you didn't have to come out and say it like that.
Elliott, stop it.
No, but no, you make those. Actually, thank you. That's a great point.
We can't center ourselves.
And I think a lot of times too, that's the common thing I hear from folks who want to divert or deflect from a particular issue, because it's like the whole, why are we spending so much time on this? Okay. What should we be spending time on then?
Correct.
Tell me what should we be spending time on, and tell me how this is no longer going to be a problem for these people. Okay, I don't see how it's a problem. Okay, tell me, where's your problem with us discussing this?
Correct.
Why is it an issue? Because we did hear about that quite a bit, especially it came up a lot in youth sports.
Yes.
Like where you had these. I remember a case of a young man. He wanted to wrestle. He was on a wrestling team.
He had dreads.
And he had dreads.
Yes.
And the state athletic committee said no, you can't. Or he was told at that tournament that you can't wrestle.
And his coach had to cut them.
Then his coach cut it, instead of standing up for the kid and saying, "Look, we got this far. You didn't have a problem with him until he got to here."
Correct.
And the kid made the sacrifice of his own hair so he could compete.
Yeah.
So again, tell us why it's not important, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows, I know some people who, when it's not centered on them, and you don't give them the proper attention that they think they deserve, it suddenly becomes everyone's problem.
It is, yes.
And we'll talk about it.
They will ask for the manager immediately.
Shut up about it.
It's never ending. But no, I think we have to, and I hope this is a opening as we move forward, is we have to take care of each other and we have to look out for each other. So don't center yourself. But now I need to center ourselves in a break.
Yeah, we got 20 seconds. What are we going to say in 20 seconds? I know what I can say.
Yabba dabba do.
Yabba dabba do. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez with your guest host, Ken Mejia-Beal. I keep calling you Bill instead of Beal. And Elliott Serrano. We'll be back after this break.
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
And we are back. And by we, unfortunately, Patty is in New Orleans right now. You have Ken and Elliott. We're here to drive you home or drive you insane. It can go one way or another. And speaking of driving insane, we want to welcome Minnesota KTNF AM 950 and WCPT 820 on the Heartland Signal. We are here. Minnesota, we love you.
Our friends in Minnesota.
And speaking of our friends, I want to welcome our next guest. She is the vice chair of the DuPage Progressives and a member of the Illinois Progressives, Lynn Casey Marr.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. How's it going?
Oh, very well, very well. I'm just glad that I wasn't part of the insane joke, because that's what I was afraid of. Speaking of insane.
Okay, I'm in tears. Okay, no, that's not where we were going with that.
I don't know where we were going with that.
Not there. Oh, God, no. If I were you, I would have just hung up and text me Ken, not cool. Not cool. So, Lynn, I think it's important because what folks I don't think they realize is that in the suburbs, in the suburbs, we do have a large progressive movement. We do have a lot of folks that have, and I'm using bunny ears, you can't see me, bunny ear radical ideas that healthcare is a human necessity, that, water should be clean, and that folks should be able to be happy and pay their bills. It's crazy radical left thinking like that.
Right.
Tell me what you have done to set up the movement in the suburbs.
We started DuPage Progressive Alliance about 4 or 5 years ago. Dan Bailey is our chair. He's in Wheaton, and he's been a progressive forever and, been involved in politics forever. I came on a little more recently in 2018. But we wanted to do is give progressives in our county an opportunity to meet with each other, learn from each other, and realize that, we aren't alone. There are a lot of progressives in this county. And it's interesting that the things that you mentioned, obviously everybody needs clean water, but, when I first started doing this and people would talk about, a universal health care system, Medicare for all, it's amazing how many people have come on board with that, people that never would have called themselves progressives, because these aren't radical ideas. These are ideas that everybody has and everybody wants. And so it's been really great spreading the word on things like that. And at that time, too, we were trying to get more progressives involved with the Democratic Party, which is something that most of us are all involved in one position or another, to help kind of, I guess, normalize these progressive ideals and show that this is what we want. We want to work for the working class and for what the majority of the country wants and needs.
Lynn, I'm just curious, and I've had this conversation with Patti on her show in the past. Patti has run for office as a Democrat, and I'm going to be honest. I have a fair amount of frustration with the Democratic Party, at least as far as the state of Illinois goes. When you consider that the state of Illinois has a Democratic supermajority, there is no policy that if the Democrats wanted to enact it that the Republican Party can get in their way of. So my question is, if Democrats stand for progressivism, why isn't the state of Illinois a progressive utopia?
Lynn and I are thinking the same thing right now, but I'm not the guest, Lynn. You have fun.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
You for that.
Yes.
Well, that's an interesting question, but because a lot of what we have is a lot of, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, elitist type Democrats that just stick with the old guard, and they are not interested in change. Mm-hmm. They are not interested in doing new things. They are not interested in listening to the people that are coming up behind them. And we do have a lot of good people in office. I feel very fortunate where I live. I have an excellent state senator, Karina Villa, and state rep, Maura Hirschauer. Mm-hmm. And even on the higher level, I have Deli Ramirez as my congressperson. So this is what we are trying to do with DuPage Progressive Alliance, is support and help elect progressive like these people, so that we can start changing that narrative and bringing more things in. I think we've done a lot in Illinois over the past few years, so I think we are heading in the right direction, but there's always going to be more work to do. And really, the work needs to start at a lower level than even the state. And that's what we have been really working on, too. Really getting in good people at the very low-level local elections, which are coming up on April 1st of this year, where we can get people elected. John Lash, who's running for the Aurora mayor. Mm-hmm. He's an excellent person. He's a big climate activist, a union carpenter. He's currently an alderman at large in Aurora, and he's a previous school board member, and now he's running for mayor. So these are the kind of people that we want to get elected, because he's trying to turn over pay-for-play system that's in place right now and flip that and really be an advocate for the working people in Aurora. We have got a lot of people running at the township levels currently. Dan Bailey is running for clerk in the Milton Township. And I think as we turn over these township elections too, or these township positions, because they have previously been held almost entirely by Republicans and basically ignored. People don't pay attention to what's happening at the township level in those offices, but they are the ones that provide services for the people that are in need. So if you are struggling with like your electric bill or things like that, you can go to your township for help. So I know, for instance, in my township, we have 7 people running. So we have somebody running for supervisor, clerk, assessor, and 4 trustees. And this is going to be a wonderful change. We got 2 Democrats elected as trustees, and that's been the start. And now this year, I'm hoping we can flip this whole thing. Because this is what happens when you have Republicans in charge. During the pandemic, when the township was offered CARES Act money, they refused it. Because as Republicans, they didn't see a need to have it. So they just gave it back. So that was, well over $100,000 that could have gone to the people here in my township that needed help at that time. I live in a very large Hispanic community, and they're the ones that kept us going during the pandemic, kept the factories going, kept the stores open. So we really could have used that money. So when you start changing things at this very base local level, I think that's when you start seeing it higher up as well.
Lynn, this is a really great point you're making. Can you stick with us through the break here? Because there's a little bit of I know I've got more questions.
I do too, actually.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere, Lynn.
We have a
here.
Thank you. We have a hard break here, so we will be back with Lynn Casey Mayer of the DuPage Progressives.
We pronounced that correctly that time, Lynn.
Did we say it right?
Yes, we did.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. And we're talking about let's bring some progressive values to the state of Illinois and around the burbs. This is Ken and Elliott guest hosting for Patti on Driving It Home here on WCPT AM 820. We'll be right back.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Welcome back. You have Ken and Elliott driving it home. We are back with the vice chair of the DuPage Progressive Alliance, Lynn Casey Mayer. Lynn, you still there with us?
Yeah, still here. Thank
awesome.
you.
No problem. Thank you for sticking around. We have a lot to talk to you about. I think Elliott had something at the tip of his tongue.
No, we kept going. We were even talking off the break, and I wish we could have had you on the air, too. Had you on the phone while we were talking off the break here. Again, and to the points that you make, okay? See, here's my thing, okay? And I understand that change is difficult in many cases, but you have all these red states that are pretty much putting conservative principles to the test. They're test cases for different, conservative, ideas that are out there. Whether it's yes, we're not going to take the money for the CARES Act, we're going to send the money back, and mind you, we also see that red states tend to do worse economically than the blue states. They get more federal money from everyone, as opposed to they don't generate as much revenue. They tend to get more money from the rest of the blue states, and so but they can still go up there and say, well, we're the bootstrap nation and we're going to do this, that, and the other. My thing is, hey, and I know I talk to a lot of young progressives too who express this sort of frustration. Why aren't we taking progressive values, using like some of these ideas as test programs in the state of Illinois? Because again, there's no opposition party to say you can't do it.
Lynn, I'm going to jump in really quick because there is opposition. And the opposition in Illinois, we do have some really kick-butt progressives, but we also have some, as I said during the break, I call them Republican light. our diet Dems, however we're going to call them.
We called them Blue Dog Dems back in the Obama days.
Blue Dog Dems, whatever word we're using.
That too.
But they're the ones that are stopping the progression. But Lynn, I will let you go for it.
Well, I'm not here to name names, but there. I mean, if you look at it in one way, we have done quite a bit. I mean, we've legalized weed. That's a good thing. We've eliminated cash bail.
Yep.
That's a good thing.
Great.
Pritzker always stands up and says he is ready to protect the immigrants.
Yes.
If something is to come of that, obviously. As Cook County, and we will, across the state we will. But I know locally that we've already had discussions on protecting immigrants because we really don't even know what's happening right now. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. So while there are other things that we still need to work on that we have failed at, such as the progressive tax that did not pass, there's still opportunities there. And I think a lot of the problem, especially with the progressive tax, is messaging. It's just something we're just not very strong at, and we need to improve upon. And I think you will agree with me on that one.
Yeah, no, we do. That was my rant. That was my rant before we even came on air.
That.
I don't understand why Democrats have such a hard time with messaging. What you need to do is you need to get the folks who came up with the Quiznos ad.
Yep. The Pepsi people.
The people. Yeah, no, not Pepsi. The Pepsi that backfired. Remember, give a Pepsi to when you go to a protest and the police are there. To stop.
Never mind.
I retract it. That was bad. That was a bad idea. But again,
I retract it.
It's a marketing issue, and especially when it comes to communicating, right? We talk so much about communicating, and the Democratic Party struggles so much with communication because, yes, we talk about policy. Policy is great, but as I was telling Ken with our last guest, I go, but it's like eating your vegetables. So you got to figure out a way to make those vegetables appetizing. If it's Brussels sprouts, show us how you're going to roast them babies and drizzle them in olive oil with
the shallots.
With the shallots, and it'll be great.
It's because the people running the party have they are not working people. They don't know what working people want to hear because they are not them.
And then
any time that people get elected, they do not welcome them. They do not give them opportunities. I mean, look what's happened with AOC.
Yep.
And it's a struggle. It's a struggle to be in the party as a progressive and as a young person too. I'll say that as well. You don't get that feeling of let me teach you the ropes and thank you for being here. No, it's dog eat dog, and you have to fight for everything.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And Lynn,
standing in front of a refrigerator during a pandemic, standing in front of your refrigerator eating ice cream is not the message that we want to send to people.
Correct.
So
I don't have a problem with standing in front of a refrigerator eating ice cream.
Well, none of us do. We just don't want that to be our message.
Well, that was my life. It's still my life.
Right.
But Lynn, I do have a question for you. Sorry. Go.
Sure.
My question for you is, progressive policies tend to be better for the overall population, not just Democrats, not Republicans, better for everybody. When we talk about messaging, what do you think can be done to make progressive messaging not seem, and I don't know the right word, not seem so evil? Yes.
Scary.
Yes.
It's communism.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Yes. While at the same time, and you mentioned the red states, while at the same time they are accepting all that.
Right.
They're accepting that socialist money that they call it without even thinking twice about it. And I think it just, I don't write ads. I don't work in marketing. But
that's what we need.
But I think what people need to understand is to get away from all the disinformation that it's going to cost too much, people won't be able to see their doctors, all that type of a thing. You need to make it real to people, and I think people are starting to understand, because I have really seen a lot of people that were against universal health care have now changed their tune. I mean, there's a lot of little things that go on where you just wonder, why are we doing this way? You know, my son was just diagnosed with a genetic disorder and is now legally blind, and I was helping him this past weekend sign up for state health care. And you don't just sign up for state health care. You have to make all these choices. There's 3 different major choices, and then there's sub-choices of what type of health care you're going to get. And I was infuriated. It's like, we just want health care. We want all of it. We'll just take it all. We want it all, and we don't want to pay for it. And that's, I think, how we need to let people know, is that we are going to make your lives easier, exponentially easier, to take these choices away, because we're going to give you what you want. You want your doctor, you want your hospital. We are going to give that to you. And you are not going to pay any more. You're going to pay less than you have in the past. They need to simplify everything, because people don't have time to read a 10-page document. So I think that's a lot of it, is simplifying it and making it real to their own situations.
Lynn, just so you know, I'm a free agent, so I will offer my services to the DuPage Progressive Alliance as a marketing person, if you need the marketing consultant, because that's the thing that I am constantly saying. Yes, simplifying the message in an effective way, hammering it home, because again, the Republican Party, the conservatives, are really good at that, taking things, distilling it to the most basic thing, and even if it lacks nuance
or substance.
Yes, but you know what? It's got sizzle.
It has sizzle.
It's got sizzle.
Yes. On their side, it doesn't even have to be true.
Correct. It's like everybody gets a pony, and it's like nobody's getting a pony. What is happening here?
The pony's dead. They're giving you a dead pony. That's the problem.
It's like, what is happening?
Yes.
So you mentioned so many great elected officials in your area. What do you say to folks that have not so great elected officials in their area, and they're thinking of running for office? And we all know the way the structure works in Illinois is the inside makes it really hard to run for office.
Do not get me started on that. Yeah.
And they make it really hard to run for office if you're not well connected. What is your pep talk to someone who says, hey, I can do this, I'm really good at it, I want to do it, to get past the old guard?
Well, this is part of the reason why we started DuPage Progressive Alliance, too, is to give all candidates a fair shake. Anybody that wants to run should be able to run. And I've never said anything like this, like saying, oh, I want a progressive to get a better chance than somebody else. No, I want everybody to play on a level playing field. And the best way that you can win an election is to be out there and knock doors. And if somebody wants to run and it's going to be a tough race, I say still do it. Even if they don't win, at least you're getting your foot in the door and you're showing other people that not everything is a given. You know, you may be the incumbent, but don't be the incumbent and not work for the people. Call these people out and say, things need to change, and I am here to change them. So I'm definitely behind, happy to help people out that are in those positions and help knock doors for them, because that's what's key. That's how you win elections, by connecting with people. And if you don't win that election, then you try again at the next election. I'm totally behind helping people like that.
And Lynn, where can we, as we wrap up, where can we find you? Where can we find DuPage Progressive Alliance? Where can we connect with you so that you can help these progressive candidates get on the ballot?
Absolutely. DuPage Progressive Alliance is on Facebook, and that's our name, DuPage Progressive Alliance. You can just search us. You can always message me there, and that is also our Gmail as well. So DuPage Progressive Alliance at gmail.com. Please feel free to send me an email if you have any questions, if you want any help with a campaign, anything like that. Dan and I are always happy to help anybody get started.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us this evening, Lynn. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And have a wonderful evening. And listeners, we will be right back after this break.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
There's so much that goes on behind closed doors.
On WCPT 820.
Yes, we're Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez and special guest host Ken Mejia-Beal. Hey, I said it right. Boo, 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 boo. High five me.
High five, yes.
And Elliott Serrano, the chief geek officer for the Patti Vasquez Show, as well as Chicago's King of Geeks and occasional host and guest host here on the show. We've got another guest waiting on the line, but I also know we've had some people waiting for a while, and we can't make Roosevelt wait much longer.
No,
Roosevelt,
how are you?
You're on us with Driving It Home. How you doing, my friend?
How you guys doing? Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
Guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, let me start with this real quick. I disagree with just about everything you guys have said because I think we're overanalyzing. I think what we should be analyzing is after everything that happened, you got to really analyze what really happened. Now, what really happened? We had the opposite party, which isn't a party. It's the Trump party. There is no such thing as the Republican Party as we used to know it. Another thing is after all that, we send a criminal, a guy, a candidate with a criminal record. Everything I'm going to tell you is facts. Stop me when I'm not right, okay? So for the first time, the point I'm trying to make is they always run candidates and they don't run by the rules. There is no rules. On top of everything, you guys haven't mentioned the fact that the Supreme Court gave him all the freedom to do everything he wanted. So do you think that they didn't do anything, let's say, underhanded, such as talk to Putin to give him a hand? Which, by the way, in my opinion, since Hillary Clinton and Biden and Harris, all the three candidates that we ran, you know that Russia got in there as far as the social media. Now, this is the one that I ask you guys. Why is it that for the first time this election, the young people voted against the Democrat? Isn't it always that the young people are the ones that vote for a Democrat? And it was reversed. It was reversed because the old people, what I mean is the Social Security, such as myself, you know, they voted against Trump. There was like a mile long of golf carts in St. Augustine, Florida, against Trump and for Harris. So here's the thing. We're always analyzing our candidates. Why did we lose? What's wrong with the Democratic Party? No. What's wrong with the rules why the Republican Party runs a candidate like this and still wins? You haven't mentioned also that the richest man in the world for the first time is in our government. Was in our government. Within weeks, he spoke to Putin. You don't think that there was something that they talked about? You don't think that Putin wasn't involved? And if you remember correctly, everything was reversed, meaning Harris was winning within, I believe, 5 weeks to the election day. And all of a sudden it got reversed once Elon Musk had that interview with Trump, and they were laughing because, you know, he fired people that were in unions. So all these things add up to what? Add up to the fact that also white women still voted for this guy.
Roosevelt, dude. Roosevelt, we've got a guest waiting, so bring us home here, buddy. Bring us home.
Okay, so what I'm saying, guys, is these guys never play by the rules. Look at Reagan.
Okay.
Did he play by the rules?
I get you. Well, we'll talk about that. I've talked about the Air Bud syndrome when it comes to the Republican Party.
We'll talk about
it. So thanks, Roosevelt. Thanks for holding on. We didn't want to keep you waiting much longer. A lot of interesting points that are going around. But I do know that we do have someone that's been waiting on the line for us since we've got back from the break.
Yes. This is... Just lost my train of thought. Attorney Chiquita Hall Jackson and the author of We Gonna Be All Right. Chiquita, how are you doing this evening?
Good evening. Thanks, you guys, for having me. All is well. How are you?
I am doing fantastic.
I need to interject here. Chiquita, really, are we going to be all right? Because right now, I'm not feeling that. Please tell me we're going to be all right.
Look, I have hope that we're going to be all right.
I mean, will I need a chemical inducement to feel better now?
Absolutely. So I was telling Elliott a little bit before we got on the air. I have known you a very long time. We actually went to high school together, and I'm just so proud of all the work that you're doing in terms of helping workers. Can we talk about some of the work you do with helping workers?
Yes, sir, and thank you. I'm very proud of you as well.
Aww.
We do go back to high school.
We do.
Yeah, and ironically, I always tell people we went to a diverse high school, and so the idea of racism and so much more did not stand out to me until I got to college and beyond, because growing up, we just didn't experience that, especially during the high school.
Same.
And to say all that, to go into the workplace and just witnessing how people are not getting a fair shake, despite long hours and years of education and thousands of dollars in debt to get educated and be the most qualified and yet keep getting passed up, kind of upset me. Mm-hmm. Along with seeing people give 15, 20-plus years to an organization, agency, or corporation, and the moment they're that close to a pension, they're the first ones on the chopping block when it comes to layoffs. So with all that ignited something in me, and I started Hall Jackson and Associates as a general law practice, but then I, in 2017, announced that we're going to do focus strictly on workers' rights, and we have been doing employment law ever since.
So when people come to you and they need your help, what are some of the things that you're looking for to determine if this is a rightful termination or if there has been some form of something else that has gone on there?
I always tell people we need to look at the harm, because our feelings, just as we are sitting here upset about this monumental day, and we all feel a certain type of way, what is the harm? The harm have yet to happen, right? We have to wait on the harm to happen. And at the same time, I tell people that in the workplace, as much as your feelings might be upset, where's your loss of your benefits, your pay, or some other kind of harm that's tangible that you can take to a courthouse and help a judge feel in your favor.
Okay. So as you just so politely said, feelings aren't facts. Got it.
Feelings are not facts, unfortunately. We all have feelings. We all get hurt daily. If that was the case, we would be flooded with litigation.
Yes.
We would be flooded with litigation.
So you talked about how you got into this work. Can you tell me about a case or a situation that you had that made you say, I am so glad to be where I am right now to be able to help somebody?
Yes. Recently we had a young lady who worked for also a government entity, and she was threatened a miscarriage because of stress of the workplace and how her boss was so horrible to her. And ultimately, once he found out that she was pregnant, he ultimately made her do heavy duties and doing extra lifting, working one man when it's supposed to be a two-man job by herself, with the idea that either you're going to get so upset and so overworked that you're going to quit, or we're going to help you lose that baby. And she actually threatened a miscarriage and had to go to the emergency room. And thanks to a great medical team, they told her either you get out of there
or you will not see the idea of having this baby. And she did the right thing by her child and was able to deliver. But unfortunately, once her paternity leave was up, she had to go back in the same workplace, and this guy's flashing a gun in her face and threatening and using all type of racial slurs and comments. And just to have someone that looks like her and can understand that you're just going to work every day to do a job and you should not be subjected to these things helped me feel like I'm getting out to bed to do something worthwhile every day.
And this happened in what year? I just want to,
This, ironically, we're talking about 2023.
Wow.
2023.
Like you tell stories like this, and I'm not surprised by it because I live in America. But there are some people who also live in America, but who hear things like this and is so far removed from what they can wrap their minds around. And that's why I love the work that you do, because you put a light to there is still a craziness, an undercurrent of craziness is still happening in today's job market, even with all the laws and regulations.
Yes. Because you got to understand, I tell people all the time, it's not my money. If I'm sitting down here as a manager, a supervisor, even as human resources and labor relations, it's not my money. It's the organization's money. It's the city's money. It's the county's money. And so I'm going to do what the hell I want, and I'm more than likely to got enough connections in here where no one's going to touch me.
Got it.
Oh, that's crazy. I'll say, so your book is called We Gonna Be All Right. What was the topic of that, and where can people find it?
Currently, we gonna be all right book.com, or you can go to blowthewhistlelaw.com, blowthewhistlelaw.com, and see our product shop. But the inspiration behind it was so many people will call my office for consultations. I will go to networking events and whatever, and people want to bend your ear. And I can sympathize with you, maybe would drop a tear with you, but unfortunately what you're going through is not enough for a lawsuit. And so I said it's time to educate people on how to take control of their career and get their voice back in the workplace, so that litigation is the very last option for them. And that's exactly what this book does, is teach you how to navigate the workplace, go for the dream jobs that you want, and help you climb the corporate ladder, and ultimately, in the event you have to go to litigation, the strategies and the know-how, how to get that case built up before you call an attorney.
So your book, buying your book, will save you legal fees.
Yes, and I tell people, as much as I eat well as an attorney, and I would love to take all the litigation I can, but unfortunately, it's just so many people that just unhappy with work, and sometimes that means just closing that chapter and start somewhere else.
Can I bring the book with me to court?
Get that severance.
Elliott wants to know, can he bring the book to court? Can he bring the book?
Yes.
Your Honor, this book is representing me right now.
So we have the book. Do you have any upcoming speaking engagements where folks can see you, anything like that, before we let you go this beautiful evening?
Not anything in particular, but I will encourage everyone to follow me on social, either at Shakita Hall Jackson or Blow the Whistle Law on all social platforms. And we drop daily reels and education on how to navigate your workplace. And that, again, is Shakita Hall Jackson. My name is spelled just like the banana, or Blow the Whistle Law.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And listeners, come on back. We'll be back after this break.
Out Chicago.
If you think of every single thing from the Supreme Court to deporting these poor immigrants who are just trying to work hard and feed their families and have a better life, to the trans community that was thrown under the bus, you just wonder, where will the hate, where will the fear end? And if you keep thinking about it, like I just mentioned, it's a nowhere street mentally.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820. You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Yes, we're driving it home with guest hosts Ken Mejia-Beal and Elliott Serrano here on WCPT 820 and on the Heartland Signal and at KTNF AM 950 in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
We love our friends up in Minnesota.
We do.
And, you know, this has been a day. It always happens. It always happens that we cram so much into a show that we never are able to put everything we want into it.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're in the home stretch here. We don't have a lot of time, but we've had some of our most loyal listeners waiting on the line, diligently waiting to give us their input. So
and we want to talk to you.
Steve,
Steve in the Gold Coast. Steve, how's it going?
Yes, wanted to make a few points. And with all due respect to a previous caller, if we only had an election in which we counted people who were over 55, 60, in terms of how they voted, Donald Trump would have won by even larger margins. So this notion that older people somehow voted Democratic and it was the younger people who won Donald Trump the election doesn't hold true when you actually count who voted for whom. That's point number one. Point number two, I do think that on some issues, you know, we were sort of detached from where the American people are, where independent voters are,
100%.
and where a lot of Democrats are, quite frankly.
100%.
I mean, on issues like immigration, I'm sorry, but most Democrats agree with a lot of Republicans. If you come to this country illegally, then you are subject to deportation. We cannot have a system that says that, if you come here and you just stay long enough, we'll just kind of forget it and forgive you, because that only creates the next crisis of immigration. There has to be consequences. And whether people agree with it or not, that's where the American people are on this issue. I resigned my membership in a couple of organizations. We severed ties. These are organizations I had long relationships with in terms of securing the interests of poor people, people of color, other minority groups, because I dared to say that, you know what, there's nothing wrong with having a discussion about the research with regard to when it should be permissible for children to start transitioning if they feel that they have been misgendered. And I'm talking about things that are readily discussed in Northern European countries, in Scandinavian countries, in England, and so places that are always more progressive than we are. But, oh, my God, you would have thought I was talking about rescinding the Civil Rights Act. I said, let's discuss the research. But no, you're being transphobic. I am not being transphobic. I want to talk about the research. Because can a 10-year-old honestly make that choice? And what is wrong with looking at the scholarship on this and having that debate? But again, you see, this is where the Republicans were able to corner us, because they pretty much made this about trans issues, immigration, and crime. And that's another thing. You know, I didn't know of any Democrat who was for the defund the police sort of thing. And yet that's how they labeled us. So, you know, they won. And they won in part because we allowed ourselves to be labeled wrongly. And we have our own fringe elements on the left. And we need to address that reality, because that is not who the Democratic Party is.
And again, I offer my services to any Democratic organizations in the state of Illinois as a marketing consultant, because that's the whole issue. It's the messaging. Steve, thank you so much for chiming in.
Steve.
We got Cynthia holding on the line.
Cynthia, how are you?
Hey, I love your show. I love your fill-in spot here. I love that, I don't know which one of you said you educate on MLK Day was it about legal issues or something? I can't remember.
College applications, filling out job applications, that sort of thing. That was me, Cynthia.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's great, because I think we are being held hostage as a nation by severely being uneducated, you know, on so many levels. How the government works, you know, how your vote gets, you know, counted or not counted, how the blue states subsidize the red states with their taxes and programs that they can't afford, or the Republicans don't want to, you know, pay. I think the Democrats and the media are enablers, and I learned that from Al-Anon. And an enabler only tells half the truth and keeps quiet and lets everybody else, you know, fend for themselves, so to speak. The messaging from the Democrats was horrible and has always been. So to me, that's enabling. If you know something is broken and you don't want to fix it, you know, and you know how the Republicans are, not once did anybody ever say today, this is history making. America has just elected a convicted felon for president of the United States. Not one mention.
Well, thank you for mentioning it, though.
Yeah, and I think it's horrible, that everybody is so silent on the obvious, the elephant in the room. And if I hear the word people are scared one more time, I'm going to bash my own head in. Scared of what? This is a madman. Scared of what? I don't get it, and I'm a black woman in Colorado, and I have been urging our people to educate folks on government issues, how the government works, how Trump is going to claim credit for everything Biden did, It's just sad, and I'm disgusted. I feel disappointed. I feel deceived. Everything that has happened has triggered me, and I've got to come up with more therapy dollars.
Same, Cynthia, same.
Well, Cynthia, thank you so much
for
holding.
sharing.
Yeah, and it's been... Okay, there's a lot of great points, and I have a lot of things I could interject, but then that would take away time from Paul, who's calling from Seattle.
Hello, Paul.
Thank you so much for holding on. You are on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez with special guest hosts Ken and Elliott.
Yeah, thanks. Well, let's talk about who's scared. How freakish is Elon Musk that he's the richest man in the world. He has all the money. It's probably 99 out of every $100 in the world. And he's so scared he needs his own private underground bunker. Now, what does that tell you about what he thinks the eventualities are? That he thinks that if such an event comes where he needs to go into this bunker, what kind of world does he think he's going to emerge from the bunker into, right?
Right.
It's I made it. Everything's destroyed around me, but I've still got my money. What the hell kind of freakish coward is that? If he really thinks that that's going to happen, you think he'd be using all of his money to prevent whatever he thinks it is that he's going to need this bunker for. What a freak. He is a freak. He's a completely freakish, morbidly rich weirdo. That he thinks that he's going to survive it. I mean, it's kind of like my brother he's always buying gold. And I'm like, why? He says, in case the economy crashes. And I said, listen, brother, if the economy crashes, your gold isn't going to do you any good. How are you going to spend it?
Who's going to buy your gold?
Who's buying the gold?
Yeah, exactly. What the hell are you talking? You get to trade gold? You go, I'll give you some of my gold bars for your water? You know what? I'd say, no, I'm sorry, my water is stopped. Remember the Twilight Zone one where the guys, they pulled a heist and they were in suspended animation in a cave for 100 years because it was in the 1800s, and then they got out with the gold and they were walking through the desert, and one guy he had the water and he says, you want a drink of my water? Another bar of gold. And so the guy who had the water he had so much gold he couldn't take it anymore, and they both died. And then a car comes by and a guy jumps out of the car and says, comes back to the car. He says to the lady in the car, he says, these guys look like they had a whole bunch of gold. This used to be worth something before they learned to manufacture it.
There we go.
There we go.
Well, that's called crypto now.
Yeah, crypto.
It's called crypto.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. And so that's who's scared. So if people are scared, I guess they're following that lead of Elon Musk, the morbidly, freakishly rich weirdo who has his own private bunker because with all the money in the world, he's still that scared.
He also has burner accounts on X to compliment
himself.
He
does. Yeah. And that's a whole conversation for another day.
But we're almost to the end of the show. Paul, thank you so much for holding on and for chiming in. Elon's freak. Elon's a freak.
Elon's a freak. I'm getting a T-shirt made that says that. Elon's a freak.
He's a freak. Super freak.
And it's gonna be my Twitter profile picture.
Twitter profile?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, considering it took me to help you set up your TikTok and get a photo on there. No, we don't have the time to do it.
Thank God.
But maybe, you know what? maybe tomorrow.
We'll be back.
We will be back tomorrow, but this is what's going to happen. We're going to flip the chairs this time.
Yes.
I will be the host, and you will be the co-host.
I will.
And I will monopolize the guests.
Yes.
And not let you get any questions in.
I won't. I'll sit silently. I feel like a jerk. But before we go for the day, I do always want to thank you guys for listening, and please feel free. Follow me at Ken Mejia-Beal on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that.
And on TikTok now.
I'm on TikTok now. I have a newsletter that comes out the first of every month that connects folks to organizations that really need them, events where you feel welcome, that kind of thing. So do that. Elliott?
Of course, you can always find me on all the socials at Elliott Serrano. That's with 2 L's, 2 T's, and 2 R's. Unless you're looking for me on TikTok, then it's Elliott Serrano Jr., because apparently there is already an Elliott Serrano on TikTok.
Is it your dad?
No, he's gone.
Oh, mine too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I wouldn't. My dad would do that just to troll me.
Same.
He would open a TikTok account before he died, just so I couldn't have it.
Same.
But in any case, we will be back tomorrow.
Yes, we will.
We'll flip the seat, so I will be the host. You will be the co-host. We're going to be back here in studio for the Patti Vasquez show, because Patti will still be, I don't know if she'll be in New Orleans or coming back from New Orleans.
She's still eating muffalata.
Okay, but make sure you follow Patti also on social media. Yes, she's sharing pictures of the food that she's eating, which is
disturbing.
I'm telling you, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for listening here on WCPT 820 AM on your radio dial. For our friends out in Minnesota, KTNF AM 950. You know, folks, on the Heartland Signal, thank you so much for supporting the WCPT and Progressive Talk. We're going to hang out together here. It's 100 days. The first 100 days.
Let's do it.
Let's see how it goes. And I don't know. They said, let's go Brandon. What's going to be our thing?
I don't know. Let's go.
Let's go Melania.
Let's.
No, or just whatever really. Hey, everyone thank President Obama for saving TikTok.
Yes. Let's
thank you, Obama.
Thank you, Obama.
For saving TikTok for us. Thank you, Obama, for being one of the greatest presidents in our modern history. And thank you, Obama, because we know he's controlling everything behind the scenes. That's what he does.
Dad.
He's the man. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
Woof, woof.
Coming up next is Randy Road here on Chicago's Progressive Talk. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.